when it comes to as far as men taking accountability, being vulnerable, self-aware, and all that, I want y'all to know that there's a lot of men out here that are, and there's a lot of us men that are they're actually doing the work. And unfortunately, it's going to be overlooked at times by people that are trying to fit in, by people that are trying to look the part, by people that are trying to look cool and try to impress others, because that's the norm of the world. The norm of the world is being able to show off these things and try to make it seem like you got something, trying to make it seem as if you on this type of level, trying to make it seem as if you better than the next person because of how much money you make or because of a certain status that you've gotten to. But in reality, what should be the norm is the people similar to myself that's focusing on authenticity, that's focusing on integrity, that's focusing on making sure that the people around them are loved and taken care of versus trying to appeal to other people that don't give a shit about you. Like for me, I can't say this enough. I do not take the people in my life for granted at all. If there's people in my life, I will be the top supporter out of anyone. I don't care what nobody says. There's nobody that's supporting and riding like me as far as for the people that's around me. And I take pride in that because I know what the people in my life mean to me. I don't care if I get into a relationship or whatever. That does not mean that I got to stop supporting my boys. I can't check in with them to see how they doing. And that also doesn't mean that I can't support the women friends around me, because the women friends around me are the ones that also really keep me going. A lot of times, some of them can keep me going more than even some of my close homies. And it's because they take the time to actually listen and reciprocate the love and energy. See, for a lot of guys, when it comes to self-awareness, I can't say that I have, a few guys in my life. I was definitely saying my dad and a couple guy friends where like we can really talk that talk and we can be able to express our emotions and everything. I have more guys in my life where we can't express our emotions. A lot of my friends, like we're all vulnerable. We have faith in God and we have a strong belief system. But as far as like getting to those deep levels where someone can understand you. I got a few friends, and I was probably say a couple, and I got some family members where it's on that deep type of level. And I appreciate it because I was talking to my dad the other day, and I look back at his life and things that he's experienced, but I look how caring he is as a man, and I look at the strides that he takes as an individual to be able to get to where he is, to be able to get to the level of love that he's been able to get to. I had the same conversation with my mom multiple times recently, like seeing the type of care that she's been able to get to as an individual for the people around her and understanding the situation she's went through. It's so interesting to see their level of care and their level of being able to work on themselves and their self-awareness. And then as far as for my generation, me being able to take it to the next level. And that's why I'm someone is able to be as vulnerable as I am, because I've seen the stints of where they've done that and they've tried to in different lanes and then be able to talk about their life. But now, because I'm a person that is in a different type of generation and a person that has different resources and a person that is able to have spaces like this, now I can take not only the game that they've given me, but I've been able to take that times two, because I'm able to soak in all the things and I'm able to be in an environment where it's okay for me to be open like that. So what do? I challenge myself and I take advantage of it. I challenge myself to be open, even if it's times to where the people that I'm going to be speaking to, they may snake me, they may be hating, they may be on whatever type of energy. I'm obviously not going to know this when I'm first meeting people, because some people are going to show their representative. But if I'm someone that can be honest about myself and be honest about how I feel about me and where I'm going, about some of the goals and things that I have, all the other noise ain't gonna bother me, because I know who I am. They can say whatever, they can do whatever, but I know who I am as an individual. And also too, I know the struggles that I go through. I know the things that I deal with. So by somebody else just talking about me or telling others about, hey, DeMarcus is doing this and that, or he got, I heard he did this and that, all that he said, she said stuff. That's cool to me. And I want people to do that, because by me being so comfortable with me, at the end of the day, I'm going to constantly put things in the atmosphere where I'm able to talk about myself. I'm not afraid to talk about myself. I'm not afraid to be vulnerable. I'm not afraid to cry in front of my friends and family. I'm not afraid to say that I have cried. I'm not afraid to be dating a woman and then we have an emotional type of conversation and some tears might fall. I'm not afraid to do that. You know why? Because I look at all the times in which I had to boggle those things up. I look at all the times in which I had to see my parents go through situations and them go through adult situations that they didn't even think that I maybe was that I may be able to understand, but I still heard it and I still seen the actions. I see all the times in which my parents were, taking overtime shifts, or when they were going through the different life struggles and overhearing their conversations on the phone. Those moments built me, and so by me as an individual, I took all that in and I utilized it to be able to get the self awareness and emotional intelligence that I've been able to receive. And a lot of people I've noticed is they go through their lives, and especially in their 20s and things, and they don't take into account all these situations that could help you to get your self awareness and your emotional intelligence better. What a lot of people do is they go through these experiences, and especially we'll talk about the men right now. A lot of men, they'll go through these experiences and they'll be like, oh man, that's just a manly thing, you can just wipe that off. Oh man, that's just emotional, man, this person's emotional, whatever. But what a lot of men don't realize is that because you don't want to take the time to focus on your emotions now, when you can have a little bit more space to fix those things, when you don't have a family, when you don't have kids, when you don't have people that depend on you, you're not even going to realize how much it's going to affect you later on, because now you have the times where you're seeing what's going on, but you're not wanting to take the time to be able to work on these things. There's so many times where men will say, oh, well, we don't have safe spaces and things to talk. I can agree with that to a certain extent, but I also have to say that there's a lot of times as men where we don't want to create those safe spaces because we let the ego get in the way. You want to try to be a hard ass so much, or you want to try to be cool. You want to try to press all these women, but at the end of the day, you only want to talk to your boys whenever you feel that you're in a crisis. You only want to hit up your boys whenever something's cool. You only want to hit up your boys whenever your shorty gone for the weekend, or whenever things is going rough with you and your woman. Women aren't the only ones that can be able to hold an emotional and vulnerable space. And as guys, we've got to work better on that, because what we do is we put so much of our emotions and vulnerability on them, but the women don't even have the space to do it. Same thing, vice versa. Sometimes women will put some of their emotions, gossip, and everything so much on the man that they don't even take the time to be able to understand how the man's feeling, or they don't even take time to work on themselves with the people that's around them to be a better individual. And this is the reason why we run into these issues of people not feeling supported, people, not having self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and people not realizing some things that they can control before it even gets there. A lot of people don't want to do the work. And so for myself, I've prided me on doing the work. And even times now when I go through situations and go through things, I push myself to understand the situation, to hear a different perspective, and to challenge myself on how can I be better this time than I was last time whenever I was trying to listen to an individual. I'm not always going to get it right. I'm not always going to resolve every single conflict. I'm not always going to be in a position to where I'm able to get to an equal medium with everybody. Like, some things just don't work out. But when you get to a space to where you're able to be acknowledgeable and accountable for your own actions, and the people around you can sense that you've been working on the things that they've told you that are issues and things that are bothering them, you're going to have I promise, a more beautiful, a more rewarding, and such a more enjoyable experience, because you're not going to look at it from, hey, this is just going to affect me just for this relationship I have with this individual. This is going to be something that's going to help you in other situations. There's so many times in my life where I've been reflective, and because I was, negligent, with certain type of feedback and stuff I got earlier, I started to turn it around, because even if my parents would tell me, hey, DeMarcus, if you keep going down this path, people going to pass you up in this type of lane, da-da-da. But even in the way in which they were giving me the feedback and giving me the lecture that they were giving me, it's not that it always added up in the way that they said, but I can use it to my advantage to say, okay, I hear what you're saying, but you know what? It ain't going to happen in that way. It's going to happen in a different way. Okay, you said that if I'm not putting in enough time and working to the gym, kids are going to pass me up and they're going to get to a higher level. Okay. So is that you saying that based on just the sports aspect, or is that from a life perspective? So what I would start doing is like, yeah, I had times when I was playing sports when I was younger where I didn't know how to work hard. Okay. So for me as an individual, that message isn't going to make sense to me at the time, saying, "Hey, kids are going to pass you up," because I don't understand what it takes to be able to get to a certain level. Okay, so let me take that into life as I continue to get older, and let me utilize that for myself as I continue to move forward towards my goals. Okay, if I'm sitting around just procrastinating, I say I got all these things I want to do, and I'm taking no action to it. You damn right people are going to pass me up because they putting in the time and the work, and they're continuing to level themselves up while I'm sitting here just talking about stuff and not doing nothing. So I can use that advice in another area of my life, but the biggest thing is I got to be able to see it. And awareness comes in a way to where you're able to open up your eyes versus just your own perspectives, and you're able to see things in a way to where there's one piece of information that you can get that could be applicable to other areas. And a lot of times people can make it seem as if they have a high level of emotional intelligence, but they don't, because unless it's given to them in one particular way, they can't see the world in a whole different environment, or they can't see it from a different perspective. And a lot of times people will try to offset this by money, fame, by social status, and we see it all the time. And I remember seeing it so much in college where somebody could be joining this organization or somebody could have this level of status, and the way in which people would just nut hug on other individuals because of what they had, and you could see that they would still be doing that stuff once they graduated, but as they become older and became adults, you can see the loneliness, you can see the lack of camaraderie that they would have. You can hear other people coming out and sharing stories of how they ain't even really vibe with those individuals, and vice versa. But because they were so clicked up, and because they were trying to fit in and be like everybody else versus themselves, that's what they run into. And then they get older and then they wonder, why am I missing out on this? Why am I not recognizing this? Because you ain't taking time to focus on it. Okay, I'm going through this situation financially or whatever. Why do I keep going through this? Well, you got to look into the mirror and say to yourself, okay, have I been saving properly? Have I been getting into stocks and investments? Have I been utilizing my resources in the best way? And this is how I've held myself accountable. I realized early on, I would say in college, I've got to be accountable for my actions. I can't keep blaming everybody. I can't keep blaming this situation not happening and this and that for why I'm not getting results. I am the reason why things aren't happening the way that I want to. And if it doesn't happen in the way I want to, I got to shift and do something else. But I can't keep blaming other people and situations for why I'm not getting the results that I want. And so when I was able to start doing that, life has changed for me in so many ways, in such a beautiful way. And again, it's a continued work. This is work I started doing 10 years ago. And so over time, even though I was confused at a lot of moments, even though there can be some confusion now, the level that I'm able to get to and how I'm able to speak to you all now is because of me being persistent and me continuing to try and push to be my best self, even in environments where it felt uncomfortable. Because again, when I was younger, I would not be talking like this. I wouldn't have got a podcast mic and be talking to y'all. I should have been starting YouTube when I was younger and getting on platforms and talking, but I was afraid that the things I had to say people wouldn't listen to because I didn't fit into the cool structure that other people felt was a cool structure. I was dope and cool in my own way. At the end of the day, back then, and even to this day, people will come up to me and people will message me being like, DeMarcus, you got that factor, that it factor that I wish I had. I wish I could try to find. But that's because I continue to work on improving myself and continue to take the situations around me to be my best self. I've had friends tell me, DeMarcus, you're too self-aware. And at first I had to take a step back, a while back and be like, is that true? Am I too ahead of my time? Am I doing like, am I too mature? And when I actually was doing research, reading and understanding more about myself and understanding, the depths of self-awareness and understanding emotional intelligence, I realized that those comments just showed that these individuals, they have their own insecurities and they're just not on the level that I am yet. They haven't been able to work on themselves enough to get to where they can see the world in a different type of way. They haven't been able to sit down and be able to gain the trust and be able to gain the care for people besides themselves. So whenever you get to a certain level like that, people will say that because they don't know how to be aware in their own surroundings. They don't know how to be able to grasp their own emotional intelligence. They don't know how to be able to handle or control situations. They don't know how to be able to always get past adversity when things ain't going their way. That's what I learned, and that has helped me to be like, man, I'm on a different level, and there's people that I've met that are on different levels too. And now I learn from those people. I don't learn from the people that just have all these possessions. I learn from the people that get good results in life because they continue to push through. They continue to showcase themselves. They continue to love on themselves and push through even when moments don't seem comfortable, even when moments don't seem promising, even when things suck, even when stuff is hard. Because you know what? They're pushing themselves to always stay authentic, and even if they do something where they get out of character or something where even when they do something that may not align with who they are giving themselves permission to fail and make mistakes. And so for me as an individual, I've learned that by being very self-aware and having a high level of emotional intelligence, that just shows a level of depth that I've been willing to work on myself, and that shows how much that I was listening, even when people or I was in situations where it seemed as if I wasn't. Even when there were times when my parents said that they felt I wasn't listening and stuff like that. The whole time I was. It's just because I didn't know how to be outspoken about it, or because of how my life was shaped up. I wasn't able to be my best self in those environments. So now that I'm able to be in control, now that I'm able to work on my multifacets, now that I'm able to do things that make me happy, now that I'm able to be in a space to where I don't have to be under my parents' roof as far as them making all the decisions for me. Even if you were to live back home or whatever, you're a grown adult, so you got to go out and get your job. You got to be able to go out and do things that make you happy. But when you're young and you're under their parental control, you can't make decisions that you maybe would as an adult because you live in their house. You had to come in at a certain time because you under their house. You can't do certain things because you're dependent on their money. You can't go certain places because you don't have a license or it's their car, so they make that decision. At the end of the day, you've got to continue to be able to do the work and stuff on your end. So man, I got to 45 minutes here, and this is a deep one for me. This is one where I'll be having more conversations on this, and I'll even be doing YouTube videos and things on it. But when it comes to self-awareness, when it comes to that emotional intelligence, I hope that people are able to listen to these episodes and things fully, because I'm going to be explaining a lot about my perspectives, and especially from the black male experience, about being vulnerable, being open, being able to work on your emotional intelligence, being able to see things. I'm someone where I like to be real with it. Like, I see a lot of people going out here doing content and things like that, and I'm not trying to do it for the level of fame or anything like that. I want to do it to where I can connect with quality individuals. I say it all the time. I'd rather connect with 2 to 3 quality individuals versus having a lot of quantity and people that just have status, fame, and all this and that. If I can work with quality individuals that continue to push me, that believe in me, that continue to love me even through the ups and downs, that can share their ups and downs and talk about experiences that they went through and not gatekeep because they feel as if they tell me they don't want to get me to a certain that I'll be able to pass them up and get to a certain level, then that's what life's about. I don't want people in my life that's going to gatekeep or that feel as if, hey, we can't work on this together or do this and that because it's competition. I'm so focused on my own thing. No, you can still do your own thing. We can go in our own lanes or whatever. I want to be around people that are willing to work together, because at the end of the day, there's enough out here for us all to be great, for us all to be on a different type of level. I don't have time to sit there and be trying to compete with people. I want to compete with myself. We got too much going on in the world to sit there and try to compete with the next person that looks like us and all this and that. Again, you're not going to relate, and you're not going to be cool with everybody. All skin folk ain't kin folk, but that's why it's important to be a part of a dope tribe and to have your own tribe. Again, even if it's a small amount of people, because you can't change the world, and this is something I've had to learn. You can't be the one that changes everyone's life. You can't be the one that's going to make a difference for everyone's life. But the biggest way in which you can do it is taking actionable steps and being a person that's a leader. I remember when I was going through therapy, I took the time to go through some therapy sessions. I had a career coach and everything as well, which I will do whenever I get some more of those tech benefits and stuff. But the only reason why I stopped is because I had to due to layoffs. But I remember my career coach, she's saying, DeMarcus, something that's different about you is you're an actionary and you're a visionary. And so a lot of times, whenever you're just action focused, you're just trying to get to the end result. And a lot of times that's for us individuals that can focus on perfectionism. You ready for everything to just to get to that solution. You about that action, but you're not visualizing what are the steps I need to take to get there. But also on the flip side, as a visionary, you're someone that's setting the plays up. You're someone that's saying, hey, I see this, I can envision this, let's make it happen. And I'm someone that's about the action. I'm willing to get it done, but I stepped more into being a visionary. And so I've honed in on that skill more because a lot of times, and I kind of flipped it a little bit. Actually, I stepped into more being an actionary because by being a true visionary, I got so caught up a lot of times on things not happening on other people's dime. I got so caught up on things not working out or me not being able to do things because of other people. And so I had to start actually being actionary and being specific about the things that I envision because at the end of the day, my only child nature, my multifaceted nature helped me to be my best self. It helped me to make a lot of these things happen. When it comes to my cooking videos, when it comes to doing t-shirts, making beats, freestyling and all that, these are things in which in my mind I've been able to do. I've been able to freestyle since I was a kid. I could really, really rap. As I got older, I learned how to do t-shirts, learned how to make beats and all that. So I had to become actionary because what happens a lot of times, you say, hey, bro, or hey, can you teach me how to make beats? Can you teach me how to do this and that? And so many people are caught up on their own time and they're going to tell you that they're going to do this, let's do this together, and they don't follow through. So what happens? You got to be an actionary because if you're someone that leads and people can believe in you and they trust and they love your authenticity, at the end of the day, if they talking about this is hard to do and all this and that, when you get it done and you get to a level where you actually making it happen, what's going to happen? They're going to be like, hey, bro, how'd you do that? I want to do that with you. So now this whole time, this person was talking about, man, I can't do that, or it's going to be too expensive, this and that, or, ain't no way, you got to be on this certain type of level. You got to be a celebrity. You got to be well stamped to be able to do this. I'm someone that's going to show you ain't got to. Yeah, it's probably going to be harder in my path to get to where I need to, but hey, let me show you how it's done. Hey, if you would have believed in me, if you would have stayed on this path with me, and if we could have set, things aside, hey, I'm cool. I'm cool if you want to come to, if we can work on this and you the person that gets all the love. Cool. I can be the visionary in the back. But what happens is that too many times, so many people, they want to be at the limelight. They don't want to focus on their strengths. They don't want to say, hey, I'm not as best in this area. You should lead this. And even at times, if you both may be really good at multiple things, hey, let's trade off sometimes. But too many people, they want to do it only by themselves and they want to be at the forefront where utilizing somebody else's help just ain't for them. And for me as an individual, that's something I've realized a lot. I've been through a lot of experiences like that. And that's why as I continue to move forward and continue to move into my best self, anytime I meet people that are similar to me, we connect quickly. People that I've been cool with, at the end of the day, if there's things in which we can connect with, cool. If not, I got to go to the people that are willing to take that step. I got to go to the people that aren't so focused on short-term results, but they actually are focused on the long-term results. So, man, I said 45 minutes. We got to 52 minutes. Every time I'm in videos, I'll be like, man, and then I talk about how much time that I've gotten to, because a lot of times it's so much of a shock to me how much that I have to say in moments that feel short but actually become long moments, because I knew who I was at one point. I knew the times where I was afraid to speak up, where I may have not had the spaces to. So now it shocks me all the time that I'm able to have conversations and be able to move in a way where things can be extended to this. I'm able to have, close to an hour conversation where I'm able to talk about my life. And it's only such a small sector where I have so much more to talk about. So that makes me happy. That makes me feel driven. That makes me feel that I'm moving more on my purpose. And so, yeah, man, I just have so many stories and things I like to talk about, and so many perspectives in the way in which I've moved that have gotten results. And so because of the results that I've gotten, because of the things that I've experienced, that's what makes me feel authentic in the way that I can share and be able to talk about the stories and stuff that I have. So this is your boy DeMarcus. This is episode 14. And so we're gonna keep it moving. Again, I might do this into two different parts, maybe three. I may just keep it at one. I'm trying to get into the zone of figuring out, like, once people start to eventually hook onto this podcast, if they want to listen to it fully through, or if it's like, hey, this is kind of long, I want to move it into parts. But hey, we're just going to keep trying it out. The biggest thing for me is just being able to have a space or multiple spaces where I'm able to have different things that I'm talking about, different things that I'm doing, and I can just look back and say, man, when I get to a new year of life and a new year and a new year, it's like, look at where we was at that point. And so at first it was just doing, like, shorter videos, and I have different times where I was talking and things like that. But now I'm able to challenge myself and do the things that I want to, and be able to tell my own story and create my own spaces. So make sure y'all show love. Make sure you can write a review on this. Like, comment, subscribe on all my social medias. My YouTube is the Multifacets of DeMarcus. Instagram personal is That Man Marco. My other my food page is Matching Up with Marco. Those two pages are also the same on TikTok. I'll see if I get back on the TikTok and do content. I really don't like it because I can't use the music and stuff that I typically would in my videos on Instagram. But if anything, make sure you follow That Man Marco, and then Matching Up with Marco on Instagram, and then Multifacets of DeMarcus on YouTube. I'll be dropping some skincare content soon, stuff about my keloids. I'll be doing some other multifaceted stuff. So if you get the time, definitely check that out. But for those that are going to be new to the platform, those that will get a chance to listen to all these episodes, and those that truly cherish moments like this, definitely make sure that you don't take the people in your life for granted, and make sure that even if there's times where you and people are a little bit off, like, look and see how people are showing up for you, and see how you're looked at as an individual. Because I'm telling you right now, if you're someone that always caring for everybody, you're someone that always goes out of the way for everybody, you're always that strong friend, you're going to be disappointed a lot of times. So once you continue to move forward and mold into your best self, once you make some certain shifts and you start to take accountability for your own self, you start to put yourself first, watch this, you're going to notice a lot of shifts. And the shifts ain't going to be uncomfortable for you. They're going to start being uncomfortable for everybody else, because everybody else is so used to how you show up that once you start taking lead and you start taking into account how to show up for yourself and putting yourself first, man, you're going to mold into a different person. So that's what we're doing now. It's your boy DeMarcus, and I'm going to holler at y'all.